Hey guys, Mr. Antoon here. We're going to be talking about Chapter 8 and finish it up with Sections 5 through 7 today. Political parties, guys. Here we go. So, in terms of party eras, so we're going to look at those. You're going to do a journal on it in class, but you can look over from 1850s here. You could see how in the middle here, this one of my favorite charts of the year, you could see the party in the White House. So blue, Democrat, Republican, and so on, all the way up to 2017. So you don't have Trump on here at all. But you're seeing the if it's dominated like this 26 years here in the 50s and 60s, it was dominated, at least Congress, by that in terms of it. So you can see, but since 1970, right around here, we've been divided like crazy. But when you see this here, when you see anything together, all red, all the way up and down, that's a party era that they're going to try to reference. And then you're going to hear the term party coalition. These are small subset groups like white evangelical, rich, female male, white Catholic, Jewish, and so on, that will make up a coalition that will help support a political party. So let's look at just a couple things. The term realignment is when, and this is a terrible, I had to snap these and I kind of made just a quick graphic on them, but all you got to do is pay attention to the color, not really the state and the visual of it. So Nixon's Southern strategy was to flip or realign the South. So in 1960, the South was, look, Texas was Democrat. The South was Democrat. So over time, he wanted to slowly move that towards Republican. And again, that means realignment of the party, changeover of the party. Against states' rights, law and order, strong military posture, to win the Southern Democrats and flip them to the other side. So look, within one election, you could see all the colors of the states flip and they realign. So obviously California became a liberal. Texas still stayed that way, but look at the southern portion here. And then as you see here, third party, that was George Wallace. And then you could see again now in 1972 with Nixon, it worked. Look at the election. I mean, it's just one state against him. You're seeing the South flip, and that's what realignment is, guys. And you can see again there, just a different chart for it, how it realigns to some extent. You can see it kind of here, but again, it happened again in the 90s in terms of the number of seats in the South to go towards that realigning and getting the power of those seats. And they're the party era. So let's look at this in a different way. You could see party platforms in 2012 where the war in Afghanistan, this is what Republicans believe, this is what the Democrats believe. And again, you could see how we can compare those directly to each other. It's good to look through these things, but you probably know most of them. But here are the party eras I wanted to show you. From 1796 to 1824, it was the Federalists. They dominated. It was the Constitution. And it tells you here the major party coalition, a minor coalition, and then eventually minor party coalitions here, or the minor party here, major party, minor party, and then their coalitions. And then the famous prominent president during that time. So you could see Federalist Democrats with Andrew Jackson, Republicans with Abraham Lincoln, again, another period of that, and then Democrats in the 30s to the 60s, and then divided government ever since. And that's kind of what I wanted you guys to see, and that's what your journal is going to be, so you guys get an idea of them. Third parties, this is interesting. Their impact on American politics is obviously, could be a big one, but it's not to the point where they can win elections, at least at the presidential level. They could win other ones, but you could see the different logos for them. The most popular ones today are the Green Party and the Libertarian Party, but the Constitution Party's been around, the Reform Party. You can see there's a Communist Party, there's a Marijuana Party, LOL, Pirate Party, again, some funny ones out there, but these are not considered, those two are not considered third parties. They are the top two parties. And you could see, again, that no third party in orange has won the presidency. But have they affected it? Yes. They can do a lot of damage, especially as recent as 1992 with Ross Perot. And I'll show you what he did. Nader in 1996. It depends on who they are. So Ross Perot was a conservative, so he took votes away from George H.W. Bush. And George H.W. Bush was only a one-term president. So you could see how they can affect in that process. And I wanted to show you this. This is not necessarily third party, so it's major party, major party. And this was the was it the, it's not the Whig, is it? Yeah, it looks like the Whig party here, because this is mid 1800s. So that's another major party from that. So you guys are seeing that go on. So the three types of third parties are cause parties, offshoots of major parties like the Tea Party, and then they're vehicles for individual candidacies like Ross Perot or Ralph Nader, or I think the most recent libertarian was Joe Jorgensen, and I forgot the name of the Green Party one. So why only two parties? Well, the answer to this is winner take all elections. That's the answer to all of this. Why do you think nobody has an impact? Because of winner take all elections. They rarely win, but they can affect the election. So I want to make sure you guys understand that. So in 2014, the legislative partisan composition, you could see Republican, Texas, Democrat, California Democrat. You can see Florida, some of the swing states, in terms of control of their state. And then third parties. In 1860, you could see Lincoln was part of the Republican Party. Then we had the Southern Democratic Party, Constitutional Party here that took these states here, Virginia, Kentucky, and Tennessee, and then the Northern Democrats. So they kind of split the Democrat Party. And that is how Lincoln actually won this, because these didn't vote yet. So you're just seeing that. Again, just the different logos. Kind of cool to see that. Lincoln Chafee ran in 2016, but he left very quickly. You can see again there his website. Most of these guys are obscure. You don't really know them. In 1912 with Teddy Roosevelt, you could see Taft and Wilson. Wilson won the presidency in 1912, but you could see that Teddy Roosevelt, the Progressive Party, did win states, guys. So he did win electoral votes. It can happen, but they don't really win the presidency. And Teddy Roosevelt was our president from 1901 to 1909. So he wanted to, he took over because somebody, McKinley was executed, or not executed, but assassinated. And then he took over, so he could have went for another one. That's when he ran as an independent. And then Texas billionaire Ross Perot in 1992. And I love this saying he said, our president blames Congress. Congress blames the president. The Democrats and Republicans blame each other. Nobody steps up to the plate and accepts responsibility for anything. That was a terrible Texas accent, but I tried. In 1992, as you can see here, the electoral vote, he won almost 19% of the popular vote, but he didn't get any electors because things are changing. So you can get the votes, but the electors are not going to give you those points, even if you might come close to winning a state. And only 104 million people voted back then, guys. So you could see today we had 140, 150, 160 million, I think, depending on what the final votes will be on. There's Ralph Nader for the Green Party. He affected the 2000 election by taking votes away from Al Gore. Look at the margin in New Hampshire, 7,000. Bush margin was 7,000, and Nader took 22,188 votes. And in Florida, Nader took 97,488 votes. So you're seeing how he affected. If Nader was not there, Al Gore would have been president, most likely. Now you're seeing with this, just a cartoon showing you that the third-party campaigns, they all die. Again, they're more of to influence, to change, to show that you're running, that you care. Again, I already answered this, why there are only two major parties, because of winner-take-all elections. All right, let's look at the big picture, guys. This doesn't have any images here. I just wanted to show it to you. So the question is, how do we govern? How do we show responsibility? We know that parties, what the Democrats want, they want big government, they want big taxes, because they want to give that stuff back to the people. Conservatives don't want smaller government, want to have more. They want to balance the budget. They want to be fiscally responsible, which is not what Trump has done, especially with the pandemic. But I mean, even if a Democrat was there, the Democrat would spend like crazy. So it's just abnormal at this point. So when we look at some of the stuff, you could see here, responsible party model. You could see some of the things in here, internal cohesion and commitment. Well, the Republicans seem to be, okay, I'm going to be the party of the buck stops here. I'm not going to do any compromise at all. And now the Democrats, because this all happened in the 90s with the Republicans, the Democrats are now doing that back. So it seems like there's no compromise at all. And the major party, whoever's in, tries to implement their program, and sometimes they force it through. They get rid of the filibuster. They force judges in. They force the votes. They do things that more of a bully tactic as they do in terms of compromising and what the precedent has been set before. But the major party has to accept responsibility. So Trump as president, Republicans backing him, the pandemic has been truly a failure in terms of how they've dealt with it, because they wanted the economy to do well before the election, but 240,000 at this point have died as a result of COVID issues. So that is the party, that is the president, and that is kind of where you'd send the responsibility to. Is party leadership weak in the United States? Well, the Blue Dog Democrats are a group of conservative Democrats. Whether you feel like, so they're kind of on the side of conservative values and the Republicans, but they're also Democrats. So it's almost like they're libertarians to some degree, socially liberal, but fiscally conservative. So it's interesting to see whether, it depends on who you talk to about leadership being weak at all. You could see at call votes, partisan divisions on a key role during Bush presidency from 2001 to 2009. And you could see here, Dems for, Dems against. And then you could see the differences here. Again, just breaking down how we start to become more and more partisan and divided as a country. In terms of our scope of government, we're not as broad as in Europe and European countries. Healthcare is an example. A lot of them they're socially have more healthcare, and everyone pretty much accepts it. But our country, we're conservative overall. We don't want, a lot of people don't want that free healthcare because they're getting it from their jobs because they're working hard to get that. The parties, it just seems so broad here in terms of the Democrats cover this, the Republicans cover this, and it can be broad. You could be extreme right or extreme left, but you're not, like, let's say you agree with AOC. She's extreme. She's more of a social Democrat who said already, I don't agree with Joe Biden. I wouldn't be in a party if I was in Europe. We wouldn't be in each other's party. So there is kind of the idea of they're not really as disciplined as they are in other ones. And whereas in Britain, they have a bunch of parties because the parties run for power. And then whoever has the most votes or most seats based on the people's votes, that's the prime minister. That's not the way it works here. It's obviously totally different. Hard to cut spending. Again, this allows the scope of government, allows these people to spend like crazy. And this is what Trump has done with his administration. He spent almost as much as Obama did in his 8 years. And obviously the pandemic is to blame for a lot of it. They don't really say no to a lot of things. I mean, yes, because it seems like they have an unlimited pocketbook to go with, and they get more for their own constituents, meaning like, let's use Mitch McConnell in Kentucky. If Mitch McConnell wasn't there, the Kentuckians would not have a lot of money. They would go bankrupt, but he is getting a lot of federal money into his state, which is interesting because that's not really a conservative value by bringing the money into that state, but it is helping out the Kentuckians with that. So again, he's getting money for his constituency. Just a quick example on it. All right, guys, that is it for chapter 8. I will see you in chapter 10. You guys take care.